Lewis Hamilton has decided to risk it all. After more than a decade at Mercedes, he will now face the biggest challenge of his career with Ferrari. But what if the SF-25 isn't the right car to take him to his 8th title? Before I tell you, tell me in the comments. Do you think Ferrari will be able to give Hamilton a competitive car in 2025? Because this could change everything. Not only must Lewis Hamilton adapt to Ferrari, but Ferrari is also making modifications to adapt to him. The big question is to what extent the team is willing to change its philosophy to maximize the performance of its new star driver. There are 3 key aspects to this adjustment process: the ergonomics of the steering wheel, the aerodynamics of the car, and the difference in driving styles between Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. One of the first visible changes to the SF-25 was the redesign of the steering wheel, a modification that Ferrari implemented at Hamilton's request. At Mercedes, Hamilton had a steering wheel design optimized for his driving style, with shortcuts that allowed him to make adjustments without releasing his grip. At Ferrari, the original steering wheel design was more aligned with Leclerc's preference, who often makes changes to the car's setup at specific sections of the track, but with a less dynamic approach than Hamilton's. The SF-25's new steering wheel design includes 18 strategically relocated controls. One of the most significant changes is the repositioning of the engine map selector, which is now accessible with the left thumb without having to change the position of the hands on the wheel. This adjustment, although seemingly minor, reduces the reaction time for on-lap adjustments by approximately 0.3 seconds, a margin that can make a difference in tight race conditions. Furthermore, Ferrari has introduced 3 new touch-sensitive switches made of Kevlar-reinforced carbon fiber. These allow for progressive brake balance adjustment in 0.1% increments per click, granular control of the 6-axis electronic differential, and variable pressure activation of the MGUK. These changes give Hamilton a level of customization previously unavailable at Ferrari, suggesting an effort by the team to tailor its car to the 7-time world champion's preferences. However, these changes are not without challenges. Implementing these modifications required the removal of 1.2 kilograms of fixed ballast to keep the car within the minimum regulatory weight. In a Formula 1 single-seater, every gram counts, and any change in weight distribution can affect the car's overall balance. Ferrari has had to find solutions to maintain aerodynamic performance without compromising the SF-25's stability. In terms of aerodynamics, Ferrari has sought to improve the car's performance in different track conditions, but this has created new problems. The SF-25 has been designed with a 5-element variable front wing, compared to the standard 3 elements used in previous seasons. This new configuration allows for more precise adjustment of downforce in tight corners without penalizing straight-line speed, something Hamilton will value in his driving style. The problem is that this level of complexity also makes the car more sensitive to external conditions. During preseason testing, the SF-25 showed a 12% loss in downforce in crosswinds above 15 km per hour, 9.3 miles per hour. This vulnerability is worrying, especially on circuits where wind gusts can suddenly change direction, such as Silverstone or Austin. Mercedes had solved this problem on its W15 with the use of side deflectors, but Ferrari has opted for a different strategy: the implementation of vortex generators on the side pods, which add 0.8 kilograms of weight but recover approximately 7% of downforce in turbulent wind conditions. Another factor complicating Hamilton's adaptation is the difference in driving styles with Leclerc. Telemetry from preseason testing revealed fundamental differences between the two drivers. Hamilton tends to open the throttle gradually, reaching 62% of power in 0.8 seconds, while Leclerc takes a more aggressive approach, applying 85% in just 0.3 seconds. Under braking, Hamilton prefers gradual initial brake pressure, starting at 45 bar and gradually increasing, while Leclerc applies 72 bar from the entry point. These contrasts force Ferrari to develop 2 different configurations within the same team. Engineers are currently working on 2 distinct setups. The first, dubbed LH mode, features a 12% stiffer rear suspension and an electronic differential with a progressive profile, designed to suit Hamilton's more fluid and precise driving style. The second, dubbed CL mode, is optimized for Leclerc's style, with low-speed dampers tuned for immediate response and an engine map with a more binary torque delivery. The problem with this divergence is that it could limit the unified development of the car. In teams where both drivers have similar styles, such as Red Bull with Max Verstappen, car development is focused in a clear direction. At Ferrari, this separation of setup philosophies could lead to conflicts in the evolution of the SF-25, as each update must be evaluated based on how it affects both drivers. Hamilton also faces another major challenge in his adaptation: understeer management. At Mercedes, he used trail braking to control cornering, a strategy that may be less effective on the SF-25 due to suspension geometry and weight distribution. Ferrari has identified this issue and is working on specific adjustments to minimize the impact of this difference. All of this poses a dilemma for Ferrari. Adapting the SF-25 to Hamilton's needs may improve his individual performance, but if this affects the car's overall setup and compromises the car's evolution, the team could be forced to make difficult strategic decisions. The key to success will lie in finding a balance between adapting to Hamilton and maintaining a cohesive development for the entire team. The fit between Hamilton and Ferrari will not be immediate. While the team has shown a willingness to modify its approach, the effectiveness of these changes will depend on how quickly Hamilton becomes comfortable with the car. The 2025 season will be a testing period in which Ferrari must demonstrate not only that it can offer Hamilton a competitive car, but also that it can maintain stable development without compromising team cohesion. Lewis Hamilton has built his legacy on a combination of talent, strategy, and adaptation to different scenarios within Formula One. His arrival at Ferrari represents one of the biggest challenges of his career, and the big question is whether he can actually secure his 8th title with the Scuderia. Statistics suggest that Ferrari is not yet at the level of Red Bull, which has dominated the ground effect era with a considerable advantage over the rest of the field. During preseason testing, the SF-25 showed a deficit of 0.6 seconds per lap to the Red Bull RB20 in simulated qualifying conditions. Even more worrying is the difference in race pace, where Ferrari is approximately 0.4 seconds per lap behind Max Verstappen's car. For Hamilton to have a real chance of fighting for the championship, Ferrari needs to close that gap in the opening months of the season. The team has planned an aggressive development program with 7 update packages scheduled through August, with the first major development planned for Imola. These improvements include a synchronized diffuser with electronically controlled moving elements, a revised cooling system to reduce aerodynamic drag by 3%, and a hydraulically connected variable geometry rear suspension. The technical development of the SF-25 will be crucial, but so will how quickly Hamilton adapts his driving style to the car. Throughout his career, Hamilton has demonstrated an exceptional ability to understand the characteristics of each car and extract its full potential. However, the data suggests that the transition to the SF-25 will be more complex than expected. One of the factors to consider is tire management, an area in which Hamilton has historically been superior to many of his rivals. In long-run simulations, he has shown that his pace remains more consistent compared to Charles Leclerc, achieving a 0.8-second advantage in hard tire degradation over 20 laps. However, this alone is not enough if Ferrari fails to improve the car's aerodynamic efficiency and optimize engine performance in the race. Another key point is the impact of age on his physical performance. At 40, Hamilton remains competitive, but faces a more demanding car than recent Mercedes cars. Biometric data from the tests reveals that his average heart rate has been 8% higher on fast laps compared to the 2024 season. Furthermore, the force applied to the pedals has increased to 12 kilograms during braking, compared to the 9.5 kilograms he applied in the W15. Although these values are still within a manageable range for an elite driver, they suggest that physical adaptation to the SF-25 could be a determining factor in his performance throughout the season. The grid context also plays an important role in Hamilton's chances of securing his 8th title. Red Bull remains the team to beat, with a car that has shown a lap consistency of plus or minus 0.15 seconds, while the Ferrari SF-25 shows a variation of plus or minus 0.3 seconds. This difference in performance stability indicates that Ferrari needs to improve its ability to adjust between sessions to avoid unpredictable fluctuations in the car's behavior. Mercedes, for its part, continues to work on the evolution of its aerodynamic concept, and McLaren has shown an upward trend in terms of performance. This means that Ferrari not only needs to close the gap on Red Bull but also stay ahead of its other direct rivals to ensure Hamilton has a realistic chance of fighting for the championship. Team strategy will be a decisive factor in this equation. Ferrari has historically been criticized for errors in race decision-making, and Hamilton's arrival could represent an opportunity to improve this aspect. At Mercedes, Hamilton was accustomed to fluid communication with his race engineer, based on a mutual trust built over the years. At Ferrari, this relationship is still developing, and the team's ability to respond effectively to strategy changes during races could make the difference in the fight for the championship. Another element to consider is the evolution of the technical regulations in 2026. Although the 2025 season has not yet started, teams are already allocating resources to developing their cars for the new regulations. This poses a dilemma for Ferrari. Invest aggressively in the SF-25 to give Hamilton a chance to fight for the title in 2025, or begin diverting resources to the 2026 project to ensure a competitive foundation for the new era. If Ferrari opts for the latter strategy, Hamilton could find himself in a situation similar to the one he experienced at Mercedes in 2022 and 2023, where the car's lack of development left him without the option of consistently challenging for wins. While an 8th title doesn't seem achievable under current conditions, Ferrari's performance in the first half of the season will determine whether a championship fight is a real possibility or whether it will need to focus on building a stronger foundation for 2026. The key will be how quickly Ferrari can evolve its car and Hamilton's ability to extract maximum performance from the SF-25 in the opening races. Lewis Hamilton faces an unprecedented challenge in his career. His arrival at Ferrari is not just a change of team, but a test of his adaptability and resilience in a Formula One that is more competitive than ever. The key question remains, can he really win his 8th title with the Scuderia? The data and technical analysis show that Ferrari has made significant strides in developing the SF-25, but it still faces key shortcomings compared to Red Bull. The 0.4 second per lap difference in race pace is a significant obstacle that can only be overcome with consistent evolution of the car throughout the season. The Scuderia has planned a number of improvements, but the success of these upgrades will depend on their ability to maintain the car's stability and address its aerodynamic vulnerabilities. Hamilton has shown in the past that he can maximize the performance of any car at his disposal, but this time it's not just his talent that's at stake. His adaptation to the SF-25 is crucial, and while his strengths in tire management and race consistency remain an advantage, the lack of full control over the Ferrari's energy recovery system and engine response could limit his impact in certain scenarios. Furthermore, the dynamics within the team are another determining factor. The difference in driving styles between Hamilton and Leclerc forces Ferrari to make strategic decisions regarding the development of the car. If the Scuderia doesn't find the right balance, it could compromise the competitiveness of both drivers and hinder their progress throughout the season. Ferrari's strategic management in the race will also be a key point. Hamilton is accustomed to a level of tactical precision at Mercedes that Ferrari has yet to consistently demonstrate. Strategy errors have cost the Scuderia valuable points in previous seasons, and in a close fight for the championship, every decision will count. Another element that could define Hamilton's season at Ferrari is the evolution of the competition. Red Bull remains the team to beat, but Mercedes and McLaren have shown signs of recovery. If these teams manage to close the gap on Ferrari in the second half of the year, the fight for individual victories will become even more complicated. In this scenario, the big question mark is Ferrari's future and its focus on the 2026 season. If the Scuderia decides to divert resources toward developing the new technical regulations, the evolution of the SF-25 could be compromised, leaving Hamilton without the possibility of challenging for the title in 2025. In that case, his arrival at Ferrari would be more of a long-term gamble than an immediate opportunity to break the record for world titles. The 2025 season will be the ultimate test for Ferrari and Hamilton. If the Scuderia can close the gap on Red Bull and provide a competitive car throughout the year, Hamilton will have a real chance to challenge for his 8th title. But if technical and strategic issues persist, his first year at Maranello could become a learning curve and preparation season for 2026. The big question remains, can Hamilton adapt quickly enough, and can Ferrari develop enough to make him a world champion once again? If you think Ferrari will develop the SF-25 enough to challenge Red Bull, leave your opinion in the comments. And if you want to keep up with every technical update and every change in the championship fight, subscribe so you don't miss any analysis. The season has just begun and history is yet to be written.